Hello, my name is Swiss Bianco. In this video we will have a look at a manual from the Swiss military, an old one from 65, the maschienenpistole, the submachine gun, MP43-44. So maschienenpistole is long and MP is short. It's basically about the Suomi 1931 model. We look at that later. First we want to look a bit at the manual. So it's a nice sturdy manual, and it's also the manual for the armor, Anleitung für Waffenmechaniker. So it's basically the more in detail manual, and we're gonna have a look a bit at certain information. Of course it's all in Deutsch, and but some details I'm gonna point out. First we are here that the school for the armorers in the Swiss military was in Worblaufen. I was born in Worb, Switzerland, unfortunately. So that was between Worb and Bern is Worblaufen. Bern is the capital city. So I did bypass that exact armor school many times with the Warp train, the Blaues Bändli, and yeah, just where that is located. Then we have a lot of information, but it's basically what we are interested in is on the pictures and on the diagrams. We see here the MP43-44 with magazine, the typical 4 column magazine. Here we see it disassembled, just with the bolt taking out. Further disassembly of the barrel shroud with the barrel and the recoil spring there. The bolt itself, quite a heavy bolt, and there we see the magazine, what they selected back then. It's a 4 column coffin magazine. It holds 50 rounds of 9mm Luger. Back then it was called 9mm Parabellum, 9x19. So it's basically two double stack magazines welded together at the end, feeding in a single feed mechanism. There we see the setup, how it is, how the magazines are carried. We have 4 magazines in those leather and fabric strap assembly that goes in front of your body, like a chest rig. Then we have the 5th magazine that goes in the gun. We have the, what is really important, the loader for the magazines, because if you don't have the loader you can't load all 50 rounds in that magazine because the spring is really hard. Disassembled cleaning rod with the brush, oil, the holder for the kit, for the cleaning kit, and the sling. Again, some about the regular cleaning, the easy disassembly for cleaning, say the bolt and the barrel. Barrel is really easy to take out with the removable barrel shroud. It also speaks about what kind of oil or grease you need to use for the barrel and other parts. So the oil they had with them, but the grease you usually get by the military service just to use, and not it's not on the individual soldier back then, at least not. Now we come to the interesting part, how the diagram works, showing how the different safety, single fire, I mean semi-auto and full auto gonna work. That's why I mainly got that manual a long time ago in Switzerland, to learn how that mechanism works, because it's not a simple full auto only. It has a disconnector in it for semi-auto in connection with the safety and the selector there. So really interesting how it works there for people that like such stuff. Here it shows how the safety interpede with the trigger mechanism. There it shows how you can remove the trigger assembly. That is then not for a typical cleaning, that is more for the armor. You know, you remove the screw and it's just hooked in front, but behind you have a screw to take out. Here we have the parts of the trigger assembly. We have the trigger itself with the semi-auto disconnector. We have the sear on top, the spring that not only powers the sear but also that plunger for that part here that interacts with the safety selector. So it's pretty well made for back then, especially. There another screw is out, so you can take off the whole upper assembly from the wooden stock. And there we see how the magazine holder and its spring is pinned in place. Here we see the charging handle. That was patterned a bit after a bolt action style kind of thing. You simply did pull it back and let it go, so it was not a movement up and down, but just a reward, and then it was under spring tension, did go back forward. Here we see how they take out the extractor on the bolt. That is a bit rough there with the screwdriver, so you need to be careful that not gonna break off, because you have the screwdriver tip right where the claw of the extractor is. Basically it's just a spring extractor, so it's not a part with a spring, but it's just a spring itself. Some more information about the shooting, how to sight it in. They had different heights of front sights there, so you could adjust the front sight. The rear sight was on some examples fully adjustable and with a slider, and on some just a simple flip up. We're gonna talk about that, about the differences then in a while. Some if you have problems with it, if it would not shoot, there is information what you should check first, why it doesn't shoot, why it has problems. Maybe that parts did break, or you used a grease on parts that you needed to do with a oil. The man responsible was R. Frick back then. He was responsible for that manual, and we have some pages for blank in it. So that's about that. Now we come a bit about the background. Back then in the 1940s, Switzerland did also prepare for World War II. That was clear what was coming. The best submachine gun back then in that area was the MP40, MP38 from Germany, but of course we couldn't obtain those firearms. They needed it themselves, and there was also no way to get a license to build that in Switzerland at all. Then we did look on the international market what is available, and the Finnish Suomi MP 1931 was available. We got test samples, tested that out. It did work out, and then was the question if we would buy the items directly made in Finland or not. Of course, because of the situation back then, we were pretty much surrounded by German occupied areas and all that. It was not possible to ship raw material to Finland that they produce the maschienenpistole for us and then ship the guns back, because any nation that would have see such a shipment would have steal it and use it for their own forces. So it was talked about and agreed on to get the data package from Suomi, so that could be made in Switzerland for the Swiss military and police later on. And that was done by a company named Hispano-Suiza in Geneva, in Genève, in Genf, basically the big city towards France, at the west side of Switzerland. Hispano-Suiza was based on a multinational company. Hispano is Spanish and Suiza is Swiss. They also had companies in France and other locations where they mainly did concentrate on engines, be it for cars, be it for airplanes and such kind of things. And the airplane side did manufacture after a while also machine cannons, 30mm and other caliber, really heavy machine cannons for aircraft or anti-aircraft use, it depends. Later that system that they developed got taken over by Oerlikon Bürle, a company from Switzerland, but that was already after the war. We want to concentrate on the wartime. So they had the knowledge on how to manufacture firearms, relative complex ones and all that. They had the machinery and all that. Amazing for the French part of Switzerland. And it was selected that they gonna manufacture the maschienenpistole 43, 44. So they did that, and because the gun factory in Bern and in other places were already occupied, fully occupied with making other firearms. It was by then World War II really going on, and that was all a bit a tough time for Switzerland as well. Many people did actually starve to death there by the thousands because there wasn't enough food. But that's a different matter. Coming back to the firearm, so back then Finland did use the drum magazine. We did not select the drum magazine. We selected the back then new coffin magazine. We have to see back then it was not completely clear in which direction the submachine gun design would evolve, what would be good, what would be the problem, how you're gonna use it tactically, and all that. So it was still in development. Basically, you can comprehend that back then, late 1800s, as the first self-loading pistols came out. Nobody did know exactly what is needed. They did know how it's quite likely should work, that we have a full a magazine loaded with ammunition that fires directly in a semi-automatic and automatic way, but they did not know how to figure out the details. That was experience after a while that they came up, say, with the Luger, the P08. That was a major design, and then of course the Colt 1911. Another, so that gave the correct direction. By the submachine guns it was in a similar way. It should have been already clear that a folding stock like the MP38, MP40 would be better, but anyway, it did not get that way. The Swiss military is and was always relative conservative, and so they did go with a wooden stock, typical solid wooden stock. They did go with a stick magazine for 50 round. This one is actually a Swiss magazine. There is no difference between the magazines made in Switzerland or outside at all, other than maybe the markings. And they also have a sling, little loop there for if you want to leash the magazine with a lanyard on something as well. Things that nowadays nobody does anymore. So the MP43 back then had a typical sight like we see it here, adjustable in height. You know, you have the typical curve there, so you can adjust the rear sight in the height for the different distances. Completely over the top for a submachine gun. So that got later changed to the MP43/44, where they simply removed that part and made a flip-up sight. I think it had 2 positions, just a simple, easy to use flip-up sight that you can flip over from one distance to the next. That was way easier to produce. The rest did stay pretty much the same. The quality of the Swiss-made guns was at first not that well. They had to figure out how to manufacture the item in a correct way for mass production. They also encountered quite some problems with safe handling the gun. We have to see back then most Swiss military people were just simple peasants from the countryside, from a village, and they did not know exactly how rather complex technical things works and all that. And often they get deployed sitting on the back side of a truck, and then say the gun has a full magazine, the bolt is in the forward position, the safety is in whatever position as it is, because that's already complex for those pheasants. And they get deployed, jump off the back of the truck, and in the process, as they jump on the ground, maybe the buttstock end gets hit on the ground, which also gives inertia on the bolt against its spring. It moves maybe 2 inches backward, can strip an ammunition, and by the spring force of the bolt fire the round even without pulling the trigger. So that gave quite some problems, and there is no good way to avoid it other than simply taking out the magazine if you sit on a truck or transport the gun, so that there is no way, even if you bump the gun, that would go off. So that was a problem. After the war, the police did use it. There was a version that of the magazine that a criminal did design here to have color on the backside, so you see where the magazine is in the right direction. I'm gonna make a video about that separately. So that much pretty much is all what I want to say in this video about the submachine gun Suomi in the Swiss military.